Environmental factors. Review. Learning intention. The student will be able to identify environmental factors such as temperature and precipitation and describe the effect they have on animals and plant growth and development. Success criteria. I'll review environmental factors that affect plant and animal behavior.
Most of the time, animals and plants change their behaviors when there is a change in their environment. Cold temperatures create changes in the environment. Today, let's discover how animals hibernate to survive cold temperatures. Cause: changes in the environment, cold temperatures. Effect: changes in the way animals and plants act or behave. Cold temperatures. We've been talking about how plants are able to survive cold temperatures because they have a special behavior that allows them to survive. This adaptation is called dormancy. Dormancy is a period of time where the plant stops to grow and develop. This usually happens in winter. Crab apple tree during winter, crab apple tree during spring.
Temperatures. Deciduous trees experience dormancy during winter. They stop to grow and develop during this time, and they lose all their leaves. In spring, the dormancy period is over, and the trees start to grow new leaves again. Cold temperatures. What would happen if these trees don't change their behavior and continue to grow and keep their leaves during winter? Deciduous trees might die. Growing and keeping their leaves requires a lot of energy from the sun. During winter, days are shorter, so there is less sunlight. With less sunlight, photosynthesis cannot happen, so the trees behave by losing all their leaves.
There are other animals that do not use hibernation to survive the winter. They use another behavior called migration. Migration is when animals move to other places in order to survive. Usually, animals that cannot survive in cold weather migrate to places where there is warm weather. Birds usually migrate during winter. They spend the winter months in places where it's warm. When the winter is over, they come back to the places where they used to live. It is like going on a vacation. There are other animals that do not use hibernation to survive the winter. They use another behavior called migration. Migration is when animals move to other places in order to survive. Usually, animals that cannot survive in cold weather migrate to places where there is warm weather. Birds usually migrate during winter. They spend the winter months in places where it's warm. When the winter is over, they come back to the places where they used to live. It is like going on a vacation. Here's a goose and a sandpiper. Temperatures. Animals also experience dormancy. Just like the plants, animals also stop to grow and develop during the time. Dormancy in animals is called hibernation. Animals that are known to hibernate are bears and ground squirrels. Look at the bear hibernating. Can you guess what animals do when they hibernate? Hibernation is when animals sleep to avoid to be outside during cold temperatures. When they are asleep, they stop to grow and develop. Sleeping during winter is a behavior that helps animals survive. During winter, it is hard to find food. When animals are asleep, they do not have to worry about finding food. This ground squirrel is hibernating. They dig burrows in the ground for shelter. Inside, they are warm. Other animals that hibernate are bats, frogs, snakes, ladybugs. When bats hibernate, their body temperature drops and they seem to be dead. Bats hibernate from October to April, waking up once a month. Bats like warm caves to hibernate and are able to squeeze through a hole the size of a thumb. Frogs hibernate at the bottom of streams and ponds where the water does not freeze. Woodland frogs find shelter under leaves and dirt. During the winter, they freeze but thaw out and wake up in the spring. Snakes travel to one spot where hundreds of them can hibernate together so they can stay warm. Snake dens can be found in rocks, burrows, or old wells and basements. Ladybugs fatten up before the winter by eating plenty of aphids and pollen. Then they hide in buildings or under logs, rocks, or piles of leaves. Droughts are another example of change in the environment. Just like cold temperatures, droughts are also cause animals and plants to change their behaviors in order to survive. If animals and plants do not change their behaviors, most likely they will die. A drought happens when there is no rain for a long period of time. The soil gets very dry and there is no water available for plants or animals. When there's a lack of precipitation in an environment, animals and plants suffer because they do not have enough water to survive. Droughts happen when precipitation does not fall for a long period of time in an area that usually gets rain and snow. Don't confuse deserts and droughts. Rain almost never falls over deserts, but this is normal. That's why animals and plants have physical adaptations that help them to survive in this environment. Droughts are different. Droughts happen in a place where it's supposed to rain, but for some reason it doesn't for a long time. In places where we find droughts, many plants and animals are not ready to live without water for a long period of time. In this picture, we see corn plants that are dead because they did not receive the water they needed. The environment is experiencing a drought. Plants usually die during a drought because they cannot move to other places. Animals can move to other places during a drought. Animals are lucky. If they move to other places where there is no drought, they may be able to survive. This is called migration, and it is a behavior animals use for survival. Zebras in Africa are known to migrate to other places when there is a drought in the areas where they live. They travel many days to find water. Other animals that migrate during droughts are the wildebeest and the American buffaloes.
Now take the environmental factors quiz.